Welcome back to my adventures volunteering in rural China for a month. I realized I haven't really explained who I was staying with. As you might have seen in part 1 of this vlog, I spent half of my time staying at the educational center, but I spent the other half of my time at the home of the founders of Tianyuanbang, Weihe and Zhizi, and of course Dodo and Apo. They live at a different location of Tianyuanbang, yet another paradise for kids, with giant mud sculptures of animals and clay houses that were actually built as a part of an activity with Tianyuanbang. There's also 12 acres of farmland with a vegetable garden and 2 stunning horses. The main building is 3.5 stories, with lots of space for visitors and providing a wonderful view of the garden. You can see the chicken coop, the fish pond, swings, trampolines and tree houses. It also provides a view of endless green fields, a nice reminder of your remoteness from the big city. One day, back at the educational center, I was asked to help a woman make turmeric. Her name is Guanyan, and meeting and befriending her was one of the highlights of my month. We got to chatting while preparing the turmeric, and I discovered she spoke Spanish.
No pasa nada. Okay. Hoy estudia una palabra nueva. Es algo. ¿Sí? Okay.
Hace mucho tiempo que no hablaba o no estudiaba español. ¿Y por qué querías estudiar español?
Porque mi primera vez a México no puedo.
¿No
Pasado.
¿No podía?
No podía.
¿Podía?
No podía hablar ninguna palabra. Even ahora.
I was really inspired by her consistency and dedication to learning Spanish. She'd often share what she'd learned the night before from watching Peppa Pig in Spanish. She's also the most impressive environmentalist I've ever met.
这个食物森林呢，是我之前一个探索的一个项目，现在失败了。我今年打算重新开始，我也更加有信心了。普门有3个伦理，一个是照顾地球，一个是关爱人类，一个是分享盈余。我觉得这3个理念都很切合我的内心追求。
She's just begun her vegetarian journey, and every action she takes has the earth in mind. She prioritizes cooking on the wood-burning stove, using any tissues or paper people had thrown away, and always uses a washable cloth instead of disposable napkins. She's also part of a cooperative where she makes organic soap, shampoo, washing up liquid, and she also makes and uses eco-enzyme, a biochemical product made from fermented vegetable scraps which can be used for a variety of applications, from fertilizing soil to cleaning surfaces.
看这个水果皮。What's that?
Fruit peel?
Fruit peel? Yeah. Small pieces. 就是很小很小。这个水果皮一直到这个位置，然后你就放红糖 ，add the brown sugar.
Okay.
And mix them. 然后 practice bottle is recommend. No any glass because you every day you need to get some gas inside. Sometimes people forget that boom.
She also makes her own tempeh, using banana leaves instead of plastic to wrap them. One day, on a day off, we took e-bikes into the village. There she explained the history of the traditional Hakka buildings with half-moon lakes outside and faded Mao Zedong propaganda on the walls. She explained the holes in the walls for dogs to come in and out, and holes in the walls to see and shoot enemies from. At one point, she felt an urge to do some push-ups, invited me to join her, so there I found myself doing push-ups outside traditional Hakka houses in China with a Spanish-speaking Chinese environmentalist. It was a pretty great day.
12个。 13、14、15、16，看你啊，17、18、19，the last one 啊 ，OK，
我以为我们的10个，对我真的
就20个。
As I said, Guanyan makes her own soap, shampoo, turmeric, tempeh, etc., and she enjoys sharing her techniques and discoveries with the world. So I ended up doing some behind-the-scenes work. I'm not so comfortable acting or even being in front of the camera, especially when I have to speak Chinese, but it was fun.
Guanyan 他们是不是生姜？
这个啊，这个看起来有点像生姜，但是不是。第一个呢，黄色截面的这一大个啊，它是姜黄。另外一个呢，截面是橘黄色的，也是姜黄。同一块地里长出来的2种不同姜黄，我也不知道为什么。
This was probably the healthiest and most natural month I've had in my life. I slept well every night, knocked out from 10 p.m. until 7 a.m. I wasn't drinking coffee or alcohol or wearing makeup, using almost exclusively organic products, and I spent most of my time outside, constantly moving. And in stark contrast from my life in general, I had very little stimulation. Usually when I have to do household tasks or get from A to B, I automatically put on music or a podcast, and often get distracted by apps. But when I was working on the farm, my phone just served as a clock, and I did everything just listening to the sounds around me and letting my thoughts run freely. I was also given the responsibility to rewrite the Thanksgiving prayer, which was way harder than I thought. The choice of drawing bugs was not random. It's related to the traditional Chinese system of dividing the year into 24 solar terms based on the sun's annual motion. Each of these terms represents a specific phase of the seasons, and they influence agricultural practices and cultural activities in China. This one here is Jingzhi, or Awakening of Insects, which marks the period when animals and insects wake from their hibernation as the weather warms. Before that, I also got to decorate the gate of Guanyan's garden with a depiction of Yushui, or rainwater, the second solar term. But for the last 2 weeks or so, I was there for the third solar term, Awakening of Insects. In other words, my cue to leave. Honestly, I thought I had made peace with creepy crawlies during my time there, with all the time I spent in the dirt with the spiders and crickets and worms, and I was even enjoying it. Well, except for the ants. I thought my fear of spiders had been completely replaced with a hatred of ants, because it happened so often that I was working and then realized ants were crawling around my shoes and climbing up to bite me. Thankfully, I was taught which plant to mash up and rub on my skin to ease the pain of the bites. But as the insects did indeed start to waken and make their way indoors, I realized that my aversion to spiders is still alive and well. Thankfully, I wasn't there long enough to meet the snakes, even though I think I'd still take them over spiders.
Snake.
Huh?
I think
A snake?
snake. 因为它吃它嘛，蟾蜍那个蛇吃蟾蜍，
Oh,
它
okay.
醒了，所以那个也会醒。
Okay.
And to be honest, my anxiety during the last 2 days crossing paths with huge spiders was maybe a gift, because it gave me a reason to be relieved to leave. Otherwise, it would have been just too hard to say goodbye. This month was obviously a very special and significant moment in my life, but of course it wasn't perfect. With every day being totally different, moving between different locations with little notice, it took me a long time to feel settled there. Looking back, I would say the price of all these wonderful experiences was a general feeling of insecurity, uncertainty, and a certain lack of freedom. But of course, in the end, it's absolutely worth it. So, that's all for me for now. Until the next one.
厉害，你有。如果你要我放你的腿，你告诉我。
我不敢。
嗯？
我不敢，我不知道。
OK， 我。
Oh my god. Little glitch. There's plenty of water.